Keep social distance with non-household members and continue mask wearing. We will begin in just a few minutes.
Congratulations, Jess! I love you! Thank you, Mary. Okay, we're done.
Please, attention! All
right, everybody have in front of it. Please grab your seats.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 436th Airlift Wing Senior Master Sergeant Promotion Release Celebration. I am Senior Master Sergeant Michael Sierra from the 436th Logistics Readiness Squadron.
And I am Senior Master Sergeant Kyle Mason from the 436th Civil Engineer Squadron. We will be your MCs for today's event. Let us begin by introducing our distinguished guests. Our host for today's ceremony, the Commander, 436th Airlift Wing, Colonel Matthew Jones. The Interim Command Chief, 436th Airlift Wing, Chief Master Sergeant Jeremiah Grisham. And the Vice Commander, 436th Airlift Wing, Colonel Shannon Anderson.
The Commander, 436th Operations Group, Colonel Michael Peeler. Representing the Commander, 436th Mission Support Group, the Deputy Director, Mr. Charles Rimbach. The Commander, 436th Maintenance Group, Colonel Christopher May. The Commander, 436th Medical Group, Colonel Tracy Allen. And the 436th Airlift Wing Director of Staff, Mr. Craig Lindstrom.
We would also like to recognize all commanders, chiefs, first sergeants, supervisors, mentors, friends, and family members for their role in supporting and developing today's selectees.
The rank of Senior Master Sergeant is congressionally mandated to only 2% of the enlisted force. It is no small accomplishment that these men and women are being recognized today. These members have earned to be called Senior Master Sergeant through hard work, loyalty to service, commitment, and dedication to do the right things for the right reasons. Their accomplishments have culminated in this prestigious selection. Before we introduce our newest Senior Master Sergeant selects, Chief Grisham, will you please come forward to offer opening remarks?
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Good. Good afternoon, friends, colleagues, and members of my Dover family. What a fantastic day. As a leader, your engagements are sometimes good and sometimes not great, but promotion days are always in the good category. I'm sure many of you are well familiar with the story, but just in case you're not, Senior Master Sergeant is arguably the most difficult strike to make. Airmen who are being considered are confronted not only by congressionally mandated requirement to limit our Senior Master Sergeants to just 2% of the enlisted force, but also with the challenges of ever more competitive peer groups and boards with impossibly high standards. This year, airmen were further challenged by that 2% end strength requirement because many airmen chose not to retire during these uncertain times, leaving less vacancies for career fields to fill. In some cases, career fields promoted less than half of what they normally do. To our promotees, soak it in. You've earned this day, and we all celebrate with you. To the friends, teammates, and family members of our promotees, nobody achieves this remarkable milestone alone. And so to you as well, I say, job well done. And I join our selects in thanking you for your help along the way. You know, getting promoted in the Air Force is a lot like climbing a mountain. You work and you sweat, Maybe you slip a bit. Hopefully your teammates are there to catch you. They've made this climb and they know the view is worth it. They know that you are worth it. And you help others along the way because helping others is the way. And then one fine day, you arrive. You crest that final ridge and you see the world from your new vantage point. Hopefully, your perspective has grown along the way so that you're prepared to embrace the view and not be afraid of the new height. And with that new view comes new challenges. The air is just a bit thinner up here. The path is a bit steeper, and the small mistakes have larger consequences. As a Senior Master Sergeant, you will find yourself in a couple of potentially new and unique situations. You may find yourself sitting at the table in rooms where you were formerly only invited to sit back in the back row and listen. You will have a speaking part. Use it to represent your airmen and your mission well. You may find that you're the only member of your specialty in that room, and your voice is critical. You will also find yourself invited to new rooms, where ever more consequential decisions are being made. Your role in these rooms may feel similar, even if the situation is different. In those rooms, I challenge you to listen, to learn, and to grow. These rooms will prepare you for that next mountain, which even today, if you squint, you can probably see in the distance, beckoning you with a whole new climb. But today is about the peak you're on, not the one in the distance. Savor this view. You've earned it.
Thank you, Chief, for those words. Colonel Jones, will you please join Chief Grisham on the stage to present each selectee with a token of their accomplishment?
We would like to invite all senior selects to line up stage right as we prepare to welcome them to the top 3% of the Air Force's enlisted corps. For everyone else, we encourage all of you to show your support and excitement as loudly as possible. Please feel free to come forward and take pictures to commemorate their day.
From the 436 Force Support Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Christina Ford.
The 736 Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select William Doty.
From the 3rd Airlift Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Brian Harlan, who is unable to attend.
From the 436 Civil Engineer Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Bradley Eisminger, who is also unable to attend.
From the 436 Logistics Readiness Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Jason Karras.
Starlight champions!
the 436 Logistics Readiness Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Marilyn Landers.
From the 436 Civil Engineer Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Christopher Lopardi.
Sometimes I get a feeling, yeah. I get a feeling I never had before, no.
From the 436 Medical Support Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Jessica Nieheiser.
From the 9th Airlift Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Kevin Saklari, who is also unable to attend.
From the 436 Aircraft Maintenance Squadron, Senior Master Sergeant Select Zwide Spencer.
Caribbean stuff, you should dance! Caribbean stuff for you!
Ladies and gentlemen, the 436 Airlift Wing's newest Senior Master Sergeant Selects. Thank you, Chief Grisham. Colonel Jones, sir, the floor is yours.
All right. So you think I'm being inconsistent by taking off the mask, but we have about 12 exclusions, and one of them are when you're on stage like this. And so I'm going to put my glasses on. A couple things. One, fantastic job with kind of the music and the energy. It's so hard to replicate the kind of ways we used to do this over at the club, and then having this. And so what a who's who, but maybe just right now for a quick moment, about 5 or 6 folks that put this on. You know, a couple backstage, and then a couple more in the back of the room. But these things are a lot of work, and then even the lighting on the stage has never been done before. Just the small touches to try to have the picture turn out a little better and some of those things. So for all the work that went into making this a special day for our promotees, how about a round of applause, please? Okay, it's hard to top Chief Grisham. He was really on point, and I appreciate all the thought that went into that. I always on these occasions for Senior Master Sergeant think through statistically how it's the toughest rank. And then if you add on top of this year, and you heard Chief talk about it, it was even a kind of a tougher year. And so really, really a who's who. And for me, now having been on base almost 3 years, a lot of joy in the fact that you actually get to know these folks. You know, when you staff sergeant, there's so many around base, and some I've met, and some I don't know as well. This rank is really just fantastic in the personal connections. So I don't think I'll take us down 3 or 4 or 5 different topics. I was inspired a little bit. Colonel Anderson and I were having a conversation earlier today about an article, and if you haven't read it, we're going to get it sent around, that our Chief of Staff of the Air Force and the Commandant of the Marine Corps just published. I actually don't know the publication date. I just received it from my supervisor today. They published it in the War on the Rocks, and it made me think of some things. And then there's some other things in the current events that are ongoing that I want to try to link it together. So this is strictly some comments for our promotees to reflect on where we're at in this time in world history. And so I teed up the article already. It really kind of gets into doctrine here and where we're at in national security, and where we're in DOD and the Air Force and where we're headed. And so we have been talking for a long time that we have been witnessing a period of strategic atrophy in the United States. Okay, those are big words. What are other words that they use to describe it? Our competitive military advantage is eroding. One of the things we used to be so good at was the simple fact of deterring aggression. You don't have to go to war if you can deter it, because no one wants to go to war with you. No one wants to misbehave. You can think of that analogy of being the tough kid on the block too. You don't want to mess with that person, and that's deterrence. What a wonderful thing that is before you have to enter combat. But if you need a reminder that deterrence has failed recently, just think of one simple fact. Think of China's land reclamation project in the South China Sea, where they built runways and islands and airports for military purposes. And they looked us straight in the eye and said, "You can't stop us." And they built those. And they're built now. And they're well armed. And they're complete. That's an example of what our Chief of Staff is talking about. We have to try to get away from buzzwords and start to get really into what is it we can do. His observation in the article is that the word readiness, we too often say that means that's because we're available, but we're not really ready. I'm going to read a paragraph of this article instead of summarizing my own words. I'm going to use their words and give you some more examples of where we've fallen short of readiness, to make sure we get it, to make sure that it's not an argument or a disagreement. Not my words here. Between 2004 and 2007, more than a dozen advanced attack helicopters were shot down in Iraq, not by advancing air defense systems, but by ground fire from insurgent groups. While the services continue to buy or procure the latest version of these exact same platforms, they remain just as vulnerable today, and they consume billions of dollars of our resources. In 2010, North Korea's submarine sunk an advanced South Korean warship. If a similar attack were launched today on a large U.S. surface combatant, would the outcome be any different? We're working our way closer today. In 2018, a Syrian S-200 air defense system dating back to the 1960s shot down an Israeli fourth-generation F-16 operating at a high altitude. In 2019, swarming drones and cruise missiles were employed by Iran to attack Saudi Aramco facilities. During the most recent conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Armenian ground forces that they would have labeled as ready based on their availability were easily targeted and destroyed by Azerbaijani forces employing a mature precision strike regime to include swarms of loitering munitions and lethal unmanned systems. In just 20 days, hundreds of tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, and other pieces of traditional ground equipment that were ready, but they were also destroyed by a more sophisticated modern adversary employing capabilities that were both available and providing advantage. So I know that's a lot there, but we're trying to beat home the examples and get us past buzzwords to say it's happening in front of your very eyes. So we start to get to, so what do we need to do? How do we stop this? How do we change this? And you start to get into, we need less spending on resources of our legacy capabilities. And I'll talk to you about the word legacy and maybe resources here in a minute. And we need to invest more in modern capabilities. Let's tease out that word resources. It sounds like we're talking about what we're going to buy with our money. But that doesn't happen a lot at a wing like this. We don't do a lot of the acquisition here. So certainly that's a true statement. But I want you to think of resources as our people, as those people's time of our training in some of those areas. I'm very deliberately regurgitating and having this conversation with our promotees because of where you're at in your career. This is where you come in. None of us, I know that, want to lose. That's why I need you to accelerate that change. But it's not all doom and gloom. Let me tell you another real positive story that's out there. And so we'll start back, and we're going to talk about legacy systems. Let's think back to the Wright Flyer. What was 1903? Hey, we're an air mobility command. What did the Wright Flyer give planet Earth? It gave planet Earth air mobility. But that's a legacy system. Fast forward to today, and there are areas that the United States is still truly leading in. And that example is the Mars rover. We are currently on Mars right now. And I know some of you are so aware of it because you watched it live as it landed. But let's see if we can connect those two. And you probably already figured out if you've been watching the news this week. We are getting ready to, I think in about 10 days, there's a helicopter called Ingenuity that was brought onto Mars. And it's going to do air mobility for the second time in a foreign planet. Did you see the story on Ingenuity on the helicopter? They caught a little piece of canvas from the original Wright Flyer, from the Wright brothers. And as of this second, it's on Mars, and it's getting ready. To fly if it's successful in 10 days. What a fantastic way to think about our legacy and where we need to modernize and all of that. I love the story. So for our promotees, are you going to be that pioneer? Are you going to modernize our training, things we can do here locally at a wing? Are you going to modernize our development? What about our culture of inclusiveness? That means modernizing. That's been in the conversation. What about our bureaucratic processes? All of these buzzwords that Chief of Staff's talking about can become very actionable. And I don't think there's a better rank at a wing level organization to get after it than Senior Master Sergeant. I am giving you the responsibility to help us not lose and accelerate that change. But take great comfort in the fact that I am also giving you the authority to help us accelerate that change and have all the faith and confidence in the world in you. And so normally I would have reflected a little bit on just kind of what the rank means, a rank I've never held. I certainly love that family is here and celebrating this. This is a massive milestone. But when I read that article, I couldn't help but think about what I need you to do. And so I will send that out, the War on the Rocks article, but if that inspires you at all, let that be because you're at the stage of your career where you can do the most, where that responsibility and authority are finally met and they're matched. But I'm going to stop there. Huge congratulations. Again, nice job for everybody that did this part. It's windy out there, but certainly it's Friday as well, so hopefully everybody has a fantastic weekend. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Jones.
Before we end today's ceremony, we would like to recognize Public Affairs and the Dover Top 3 for their support in today's ceremony. All selects, please come up front for a group photo. Ladies and gentlemen, once we finish the group photo, please join us in front of the stage for a reception line to congratulate Dover's newest Senior Master Sergeants. Thank you for coming out to celebrate. This concludes our ceremony.